Hello there. In this video, we're going to look at the video editing capabilities of Photoshop. We're going to bring some video clips into Photoshop. We're going to add some transitions. We're going to add an audio track, and then we're going to render the whole thing out as a complete video that will play independently from Photoshop in a video player. So to begin with, let's open up a video track. Let's go to File and Open. And on my desktop, I've created a folder with all my video clips in, and as well as the video clips, I've got an audio track as well, which I'll be adding. So to open up the first of my video clips, I'll just simply select it and click Open. And that opens up the video as well as the timeline. Now, if the timeline doesn't appear for some reason, you can access the timeline from the window along the top here, and then down at the bottom, we can click where it says timeline. But the timeline's already open. It tells me that. We've got a little tick next to it. So I can come out of this menu, back into the timeline in Photoshop. Now the timeline can be a free floating timeline like I've got here, or we can dock it to the bottom of the Photoshop window. If I click and drag, when it highlights in blue like that, I can release my mouse and that attaches the timeline to the bottom. I tend to work with a floating timeline, so I'm going to click on the timeline tab, just pull that out, and we've got some very basic play controls along the top here. If I just click on hit the play button, we can see the video and the playhead advancing along the timeline. We also have some options to, if I drag the playhead back, we can advance forward a frame at a time, or we can go backwards a frame at a time. We can jump right back to the beginning of the timeline, clicking on this button here. Another useful thing to work with when working with the timeline is to open up the Layers panel. So my Layers panel currently isn't open, so let's open up the Layers panel. Again, from the main menu, choose Window, and select Layers. So in my Layers panel, I've got a video group 1, which it says down here. This is the video group 1, and we've got the layer 1, which is the name of my clip. I can rename these. I can double click where it says layer 1, and let's type in a new name for this clip. Let's call it Aerial View, and press enter. And by naming it in the Layers panel, it's also named it in the timeline as well. We can do the same with the video groups as well. So if I go up to the video group in the Layers panel, give that a double click, and we'll call this, we'll call it track 1. And then press enter or return. And that's now named that video group track 1. So that's my track 1. I can now add in additional video content. If I zoom out, using the zoom control here, I can zoom in and out on my video clip. I want to add a second video in this track, so I'm going to go over to the button here, and I'm going to choose Add Media. Once again, I will select another video track, so I will choose this one. Click on Open, and that's added that video into track 1. Again, I'll zoom out to see the whole track, and once again I think I'll name this. So into track 1, let's give this a name, call this Bay, and press enter or return. And now I've got 2 video clips in track 1. Let's give that a play. And we see that jumps to the second video. Okay, so I've got 2 videos in my track. I want to add a second track into the timeline and place another video on top. And with this video, we're going to add a transition. So to add in our new video track, I'm going to click on the button, add a new video group. So we've now got a new video group on top. We'll also see in the layers panel we've got a new video group. Let's just minimize track 1 for the moment. And I'm going to put video content into this group. So once again, I'll click on this button here and choose Add Media. Back into my folder. This time I'm going to select another video track. Here it is. And once again, I think I'll name them as well. So video group 1, I'll double click on that. This will be track 2. And the video clip itself, I will call this Temple. Press return. And I'm going to click and drag on this video clip. I'll place it over where the two video clips in the bottom track fit together. So now if I quickly drag my playhead, we can see we've got a sudden jump to the Temple video, and then we've got another jump where we can see the Bay video clip. I'm going to add a transition to this top video. Transition options in the timeline, here they are. If I give this a click, we've got different transitions that we can apply. We can adjust the duration of these transitions as well. We can click on this button and extend the duration. I'm just going to keep it at 2 seconds. I'm going to press 2 in the duration option, and then I'm going to just simply click and drag this fade transition and drop it at the beginning of this video clip, and we get this triangular symbol indicating a transition. And if I drag the playhead, we can see that transition. So we fade that track in, and I'm going to do the same on the end. I'm going to fade the track out, doing exactly the same thing. Click and drag and place a transition on the end. And then if I click and drag backwards, press play. We get a fade in, and we get a fade out. And that track has some audio on it as well. If I want to, I can trim video clips down as well. Moving my mouse over to the end, if I just click on the end of this video, I can click and drag. Notice the mouse symbol changes to what's called a trim symbol, and as I'm dragging this clip backwards, we can see a little preview window has appeared, and it's showing me what the end frame is on my video clip. In the top right hand corner of that preview, there's a duration telling me the duration of this clip. As I'm dragging it backwards, the duration reduces. Let's drag it up to about 8 seconds. To the top left hand corner on that preview, it's telling me the overall duration of my clips in the timeline, which is currently saying 16 seconds and 13 frames. I can release the mouse, and that trims back the clip. I can also drag it back again to extend it. Another way we can edit our video clips is if I drag my playhead to a place where I want to make a cut in my video clip. Make sure it's selected. We can select video clips. This one's highlighted in white, telling me this is the selected video. And with my video selected, I'm going up to the controls in the timeline, and this time I'm going to click on the cut symbol here. And we can see that's cut my video track in two, right where the playhead was placed. And we'll also notice now that in the track 1 layer in my timeline, I've now got 3 video clips. I can select the end clip if I want to. I can delete it by pressing the backspace key. Or if I change my mind, I can just simply drag it out once again. So it hasn't actually deleted that clip, it's just edited or trimmed it back to where the playhead was. I'm just going to drag it back again. The last thing I'm going to do to my video is add a soundtrack. So down here at the bottom, I might need to scroll down a little bit. Here's my audio track. I'm going to click on the audio button and choose Add Audio, and select my audio clip in my project folder and click Open, and that adds in the audio track. Notice it's a different color from my video clips. That's a visual indicator to tell me it's an audio track. Let's zoom out a little bit. So this is quite a long duration compared to my video clips. Once again, I can just click and drag and trim back this sequence to match the duration of my videos. And then click to jump the player back to the beginning, and we'll click on play and listen to our edited video. So we can hear the audio, but it does cut out very abruptly. What would be a good idea is if we faded out the audio track to make it sound more natural. And to fade out audio in the timeline, we click on the button on the end of our audio track, and here we got some control settings. We can adjust the volume if you want to reduce the volume a little bit. The fade out, I'm going to fade this out to 3 seconds and then press enter. Just drag the player back to the beginning and click play. Now on this top layer, I noticed there is an audio track. If we want to, we can take out audio from that track and just have our background music playing. So again, to edit the audio on this video track, I'll click on this little arrow button. And from here, I'm going to click on the audio symbol. And from here, I can reduce the volume down. Okay, once again, let's press return. Drag the playhead back and click on the play button. Okay, that completes my video. So the next thing to do is to save it out, and we're going to save it out in 2 ways. We're going to save it out as a Photoshop document, which if we want to edit or add in more content later on, we need the Photoshop document. And we're also going to render it out as a complete video in its own right, which will play externally from Photoshop in a video player. So first of all, let's save our video as a Photoshop document. Let's go to File and choose Save. And in my project folder, I'm going to give this a name. I'll call this video. And by default, it adds the .psd. That tells me it's a Photoshop document. And we need to save it in this format in order to save the layers and all the video editing that we've done. So I'll leave it on its PSD file format and click Save. And we'll just OK that. So that's saved our Photoshop document if we need to edit it. And lastly, we'll render out a complete video that will play independently from Photoshop. Up to the main menu, choose File, Export, and Render Video. So in the Render Video options, most of the settings we'll leave as they are. They're quite suitable. The name, I'm going to leave it as video. I'm going to make sure I'm saving it into my project folder, which I will do so. Clicking on the select folder, locate the desktop. This is my project folder called Photoshop Videos. I'll click on choose. The default setting here, H.264, which is a good setting. There are others, but I'm going to leave it on H.264. That will give me a relatively low file size, but still retain a decent quality. There are presets if I want to save my video out in particular video formats, but I'm going to leave it on HD 1080p25, which is a good video standard. This tells me that the pixel dimensions of this HD format are 1920 by 1080 pixels in diameter, which again is suitable for viewing video on a computer screen or a TV. Frame rate, as with the HD 1080p25, that stands for 25 frames per second, and that tells me it's going to save it in 25 frames per second. The end frame down here is frame 422, so everything looks okay, everything's set to the way I want it. I've got a good standard video to work with at 1920 by 1080, 25 frames per second, so all I need to do here is click on the render button, and that will take a few moments to render out that video. Obviously if the video is very long, it will take a little bit longer to render out this video, but this is a relatively short one, so it's progressing quite quickly. Okay, so that's rendered out my video. If I minimize Photoshop for the moment and access my project folder, we can see in here the video clips I started with. This is the audio file that I added later. This is the Photoshop document which I need to save if I want to make any further edits to this video, and that is the final rendered out video that will play independently from Photoshop. So let's give that a try. Let's right click, open with, choose QuickTime, and let's see our final edited video. Okay, and that completes our video. One thing to note before we finish this is that it's always a good idea to create a project folder to put all your video content into it. That way, when you open up the Photoshop document the next time, all the content is in the same place. If you don't save your video clips, then next time you open up your Photoshop document, you might get problems. It might not be able to access the videos. It might not also be able to access your soundtracks as well. So keep everything in the same folder, and then that way when you open up your Photoshop version, because the videos and audio tracks are all in the same place as they were before, Photoshop will be able to open up and play those videos.